Okay, abusia, you better mama kwaba shunko so edeba Ghana Politics Avenue. So abusia, yembonra yensem. Lawyer Martin Pebu de nsem bi ababe tudwana ne nsema ode ababe tudwano ocha Ken Ofori Atta after say say USA immigration officers for no omonsa esu ni mu no Akuffo Addo abuaremu ewo ho asisia no say wadane ne ho informat say ocha Ninua ene Ken Ofori Atta entino ense eni mani ya no omo peja Ken Ofori Atta no me de ne bepi mu ewo Ghana abusua former president Akuffo Addo eye nneoma say Ken Ofori Atta FM no Akuffo Addo na nkasa odwene ho a onte ase entino lawyer Martin according to lawyer Martin Pebu or say former president Akuffo Addo intervene na omayen Ken Ofori Atta embra Ghana hase intino Akuffo Addo nso take quick action ewo lawyer Martin Pebu nasema okaye na chese wama immigration for no edina babi pima enye executive enko na enkonkoti ensema lawyer Martin Pebu edituja unsubscribe ya subscribe like na share ma afofron so ensa into me enkabi Ghana Politics Avenue. So and don't forget to click on the notification bell so never any update be ever dropping also once able to me aka medamase.
I always mention that at any point in time, maybe when Akuffo Addo and co prevail upon him, because Ghanaians are also asking Akuffo Addo that what is he saying about his cousin not coming? Were we not here when he said nobody in his government was corrupt, etc. So now that we have corruption cases against Ofori Atta, and I don't use the word cousin, I use brother, because in Cree there is no word for cousin, it's brother. So now that Ofori Atta, Akuffo Addo's brother is facing 5 corruption cases, it's time for Akuffo Addo to step in and ask him to come, because Akuffo Addo, we kept complaining that Ofori Atta is corrupt. Ofori Atta is corrupt, and Akuffo Addo kept denying that no, nobody in his government was corrupt. So now we have it. So Akuffo Addo has to prevail upon him. So if they prevail upon him, yes, early good news. But if we say we should use law, no, I don't see this happening in less than 9 months.
The statement the lawyers issued yesterday.
Okay, so number one, at least it's a small good step. When I say small good step, what I mean is that we don't have too many details yet, because it appears they are yet to give us those details. But at least the fact that he's in custody is a small good test. A step. In law, you can be in custody, but the journey it will take for them to release him to us is a very complex one, the extradition one. I think I heard one of our respected panelists say hopefully by end of the month we'll have good news. I'm afraid if we are using extradition, it will be too soon to have good news, because they are going to go to court. That's going to be a very bloody battle. Ofori Atta doesn't look like he wants to come, without a fight. So the court processes, etc., are going to take us years. So it's not an easy fight, unless at any point in time, he finally throws in the towel and says he wants to come. But if he doesn't want to come and he wants us to go through due process to bring him, it's not 1 or 2 or 3 months matter. Even the date they will appear in court, like to start the case itself, it will take months. They just don't start like that. In America, there are long queues. Sometimes in Ghana, we make opinions and it looks like we are the only people who don't get corrupt people jailed in 5 months, 2 months, etc. In America, there's a queue. So your case, you can be arrested today, but the case will not be heard immediately. It will take years, yes. So they also have issues. So let's wait and see. Eventually, we'll get the timelines as to when the court proceedings will start. Then my second point is that the matter about the visa. So it would appear that the visa is expired, because you see in the letter, they say that he has applied to adjust his state. The plain meaning of it is that he wants to be a permanent resident. I mentioned it at least about 2 months ago, that I had information that he had applied to be a permanent resident, right? So there you have it. So people of Ghana, what I was saying, wasn't a lie. Now you have his lawyers admit that he has applied to adjust his stay. That word, or that the phrase, adjust his stay, is an euphemism for saying he wants to be a permanent resident. That's usually the status you'll be given, and then after years, generally it's 5 years before you become a citizen. So you become a permanent resident, and then usually it takes about 5 years before you become a citizen. So that's the journey. So you have it. When I said Ofori Atta is applied.
Hello, Mr. Kpebu.
Sources. No, if I disclose all my source, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, your line broke a little bit, but we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
So I'll say at the time I disclosed that Ofori Atta had applied for permanent residence, some Ghanaians were asking for my source. And I said, no, I couldn't disclose the source because if I did, then very soon all my sources would dry. Because if somebody gives you information in confidence and you come on the media and start disclosing everything, then very soon people will not take me into confidence. So here you have it. The lawyers have admitted that he is applying to stay in America. Now, so it tells you that the visa
Hello, Mr. Kpebu.
as a maximum, unless maybe for medical reasons or something else, then they can extend. But usually 6 months. And since Ofori Atta went, even if you have a 5-year visa, so you use a 5-year visa, it doesn't mean that when you enter America, you can live there for 5 years. Usually 6 months. But maybe if by the end of the 6 months, you have a medical condition or something, that you explain to them, then, of course, when I say explain, they will ask for documentation and proof, etc. Then they can extend it. So once their own letter says that his visa is expired, that is it. So maybe we will no longer go with the February visa story. Let's go with what the lawyers have admitted, that yes, his visa is expired, but he has applied for to adjust his stay, which I'm saying the meaning of.
Mr. Kpebu, your line is not helping us. I think earlier I saw you were driving. If you could stabilize a bit for us so we can have this conversation and conclude. But I want to read a bit of that letter to you. And the paragraph 2 said that Mr. Ofori Atta has a pending petition for adjustment of status, which authorizes a person to stay in the U.S. legally past the period of validity of the visa under U.S. law. A change of status by this method is common. Looking at the circumstances under which the lawyers and Mr. Ofori Atta himself are working towards this, do you see a possibility of this succeeding?
Well, I don't have enough facts to say yes or no. We'll wait to see. But I can tell you that it's very difficult. It's a difficult case. It's not a walk in the park. It's not a walk in the park at all. Because remember, we have applied to have him extradited. So now that ICE have arrested him, it means that presumably he's been arrested so that we'll now go on with the extradition proceedings. And under U.S. law, from the little that I have learned, okay, when we're doing Kpebu number 2 versus Attorney General number 2, for lawyers who want to follow, our Supreme Court, when they were deciding in Ghana that all offenses should be bailable, the case I took to court, one of them, that's the second case called, analyzed the U.S. cases and came to a conclusion that in the U.S., when you are arrested so that extradition proceedings will take place, they hardly grant you bail. They hardly. So lawyers can check Martin Kpebu number 2 versus Attorney General number 2. Our Supreme Court analyzed the U.S. cases and say in the U.S., if you get arrested as part of the processes to be extradited, they don't grant bail. It's hardly done. But they looked at our law and said, well, in Ghana, we want to go ahead of the Americans. If the suspect can give the necessary conditions, we should be able to grant bail. So in Ghana, you hear all offenses are bailable. All offenses are bailable. Right? In the U.S., when it comes to extradition, it's a very tall order. So his chances can be very slim. based on the analysis the Supreme Court made.
Doesn't this support the point Madam Tete made earlier, that the government of Ghana knows why he's there, and even she going to the extent of concluding that there could be good news by end of this month? Couldn't that support that, as compared to the picture you're painting, that it could be very difficult, to an extent it could take years?
Well, that's the point that I've made. So I'm looking at law on the theory, the law on paper. Extradition is a very complex matter. It's not. No, I'm not likely to shift my opinion. You see, I'm looking at the law, what it takes to extradite a person. Even in Ghana, you cannot get the extradition done within 1 month, much less in the US, where there is a longer queue. So it's okay. I mean, Beatrice, I will be happier for it if you come by the end of January, because we have 5 cases against him, and also there's a civil case where I sued him, okay, this same SML matter, asking for recovery of the money. I sued him on behalf of Ben Boachi's ASEP, African Center for Energy Policy, CDD, the Fourth Estate, etc. A number of NGOs, Enyona Mabuchi, about 6 plaintiffs. So we also have a lawsuit against him on this SML matter. So if he will come end of the month, it will be good news. But analyzing with law is difficult.
Analyzing
in law, you cannot finish.
Analyzing with law is difficult. Let me ask you my last question, Mr. Kpegbu. What do you anticipate, in as much as you admit that you do not have a lot of information, looking at the circumstances and the information we have so far, what do you anticipate as regards this extradition process and this new twist to its detention by ICE?
Yeah, so what I anticipate is a long, drawn-out, bloody battle in court, yes. Because he's going to fight tooth and nail. He's going to fight tooth and nail. So far, based on the strictures, based on the tricks he has shown, he says he will come today, he doesn't come, and etc. You remember the stories the OSP was giving us, those cock and bull stories. And you know, we've not spared Kisei Jabin for his role in allowing Ofori Atta to flee. So if you look at the story from last year, January, a year ago, and all the stories, I was going to do surgery. He said he was going to do surgery. The surgery didn't come on, and he never informed the special prosecutor and never came to Ghana, etc. If we use those facts to analyze, then he's going to fight it in court. He's not going to just throw in the towel. But I always mention that at any point in time, maybe when Akuffo Addo and co prevail upon him, because, you know, Ghanaians are also asking Akuffo Addo that, what is he saying about his cousin not coming? Were we not here when he said nobody in his government was corrupt, etc. So now that we have corruption cases against Ofori Atta, and actually I don't use the word cousin, I use brother, because in Key there's no word for cousin, it's brother. So now that Ofori Atta, Akuffo Addo's brother is facing 5 corruption cases, it's time for Akuffo Addo to step in and ask him to come, because Akuffo Addo, we kept complaining that Ofori Atta is corrupt. Ofori Atta is corrupt, and Akuffo Addo kept denying that nobody in his government was corrupt. So now we have it. So Akuffo Addo has to prevail upon him. So if they prevail upon him, yes, early good news. But if we say we should use law, no, I don't see this happening in less than 9 months.
But do you also think that perhaps with ICE coming in now, there's a possibility that he could be deported soon?
Okay, so saying that he's overstayed his visa, so they'll just do it. Remember that the lawyer is stated in the letter, and I have some experience of it, that he has a pending application. Oh, if they choose to deport him soon, go, all well and good. You know, Donald Trump's America is a bit different from the America we usually know. So if they want to say that, look, notwithstanding his application, they just want to deport him, they will not do extradition. Okay, it will be better for us. We will be happy. So what Madam Tete is saying, if hopefully, well, I don't want to go too much into it. So say it is that they will just do a normal deportation because he has violated his visa. We'll be happy for it. But I see the letter also states it, and I also can say that the America I know. I mean, looking at those days we started going to America over 20 years ago. It was common that if you have an application for permanent residence and they've not yet granted, you could stay beyond the 6 months. Yeah, then there is a penalty. And those days is what about $1,000. Yeah, I remember over 20 years ago that used to be at least the law that as the Ghanaian community, the discussions, and there were people who overstayed and got their permanent residence. Lots of Ghanaians, they weren't deported. But remember, I'm not a lawyer or a U.S. lawyer. I'm just a Ghanaian visiting America. So if Madam Tete's information is that we'll have good news, we should pray. But if we are analyzing hard law, it can be longer. I think we can leave it at that.
And perhaps my very last question, you've answered it partially though, but that is in relation to ordinary Ghanaians who overstayed their visas and still got the opportunity to have permanent residency. In the case of Ofori Atta, I heard you say that it may be difficult. Was that to mean that they may not eventually end up getting that for him because of the circumstances surrounding his stay in particular?
When I said difficult, we're talking about the extradition proceedings, not his application for permanent residence. My point is that the extradition proceedings take long. It's not 1 or 2 months matter. That was the context in which I was saying that it may be difficult. Remember, the question was that, there will be good news at the end of the month. And I was saying it may be difficult because extradition takes quite a bit of time. It's not 1 or 2 or 3 months matter. But now, the argument, what is clearer to me, guessing from Madam Tete's submission, is that perhaps they would be looking at doing a simple deportation for violating his visa, not extradition because Ghana wants him. And I'm saying that, well, if under the law they want to just simply deport him because he's violated his visa, that too sounds a bit difficult because I've seen Ghanaians overstay because they had their visas pending. But I'm not a U.S. lawyer, so I'm just telling a story, what I've seen. I'm not qualified to speak on U.S. law. So if under the same law, they can deport somebody notwithstanding a pending application, for us it will inure to our benefit. So we will look at the result, not the U.S. law, because I'm not qualified to speak on the U.S. law.
Mr. Akpebu, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
And for sharing those thoughts with us as well. Madam Tete, you wanted to respond quickly to some of the things he said.
Not really to respond to him, but I just want to say is that my position is based on 3 things.
Okay, abuzia we ne ensema ekoso e political highway so lawyer Martin Pebu na yete ne nkase odisa ensem no etudwa ede amaya o chese eye former president Akuffo Addo on intervene na etese nioma Ofori Atta eye no etwa kwemu na yede ahonsem brem yebeda masesa mo jepe ne kokotisa ensem no ede bai aha Ghana Politics Avenue. So and don't forget to click on the notification bell so that any updates be ever dropping. Once every to me, Aka, Madam Ase.